Welcome to the Planet Microcap Podcast, the #1 destination for everything microcap investing. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and each week I sit down with elite investors, CEOs, and market experts to uncover actionable insights and real-world lessons you can apply immediately. Are you a new or experienced microcap investor? Do you want to meet microcap management teams as well as other microcap investors from around the world? Planet Microcap hosts the highest quality in-person microcap events in North America. The mission is to bring the best microcap investors, companies, and allocators together to gather, connect, and grow. Visit planetmicrocap.com to learn more about our Las Vegas and Toronto events. Now, a quick disclaimer. This presentation is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as a recommendation to purchase or sell any security referenced herein. Planet Microcap Holdings, LLC and Microcap Club, LLC are not licensed brokers nor registered investment advisors. We, our partners, contractors, members, subscribers, guests, or affiliates may or may not hold positions in one or more of the securities mentioned in this presentation and may trade in such securities at any time. We may have received cash compensation from one or more participants for presenting at past, present, or future events. We recommend you consult a licensed investment advisor, broker, or legal counsel before purchasing or selling any securities referenced in this presentation. Welcome to Planet Microcap. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and joining me right now is David Chuang. He is the chairman and CEO of FST Corp. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is KBSX on NASDAQ. And FST actually just presented at our investor conference, Planet Microcap Las Vegas, which took place June 16 through 18, 2026. For more information about his presentation, to see their webcast, you'll be able to see that on our website for the Las Vegas event. And with that, David, thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me, Robert.
All right. Well, it's great to have you. And look, usually we do these prior to the event, but, schedules, always
Right.
sometimes conflict. So, I figured this was a good opportunity for folks that maybe didn't get a chance to see your presentation or didn't have a chance to meet with you in one-on-one, give kind of the quick overview of the company. So, for those that aren't familiar with FST, can you give us that quick overview and history of the company?
Sure. So FST is a golf shaft manufacturer and marketer and designer of basically golf shafts. Um, we started making golf shafts in 1989. Um, and we started out as just a pure steel shaft manufacturer. And then in 2007, we launched our own brand called KBS. So if you're an affluent golfer, you probably know us through the KBS brand. So we do make the KBS branded golf shafts. And today we do make uh, in-house, we only still make steel, but we do design and market a graphite product line. Right now we outsource that, but in the future we are thinking of bringing that in-house as well. So we are a golf shaft manufacturer and marketer of golf shafts.
Very good. All right. So, what it turned out you were one of two golf shaft manufacturers actually at our event. What would you say makes FST and the KBS brand unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Okay, well, KBS, I would say, is a leading manufacturer in golf shafts. So uh, a big difference between us and a lot of the golf shaft makers out there is that we do steel and graphite. Um, and we do them at scale, right? So we're able to uh, manufacture enough volume so that we could supply to the OEM companies, like the branded companies like Callaway, TaylorMade, and Titleist, and also supply to the local aftermarket for local fitting studios. So uh, like the local mom and pop shop in New York or in California. And we have our own shop down in Carlsbad, um, California, close to San Diego, where we do fittings for people who come in. But right now, that's more of a marketing and experimental shop than it is. We're not going to be going around the country opening up shops, but we do offer the broadest, and we do offer the broadest line of steel golf shafts for fitting. We've been pushing people to get fitted because we believe that people should have the proper equipment to play. You do play better when you have the right equipment. Um, and we do have the broadest line of golf shops out there, and we're able to produce in volume, um, with quality. So I would say that's the biggest difference between us and our competition.
Absolutely. So, I mean, quick follow up to that. I mean, I'm not a golfer, so I'm not going to pretend like I know the difference between, the
Uh,
clubs and anything like that. But I mean, how do some of the OEMs, how do they differentiate in terms of, okay, this one is better than this one? Do they think about cost? Like, I just want to better understand what the actual, what the downstream customer is, how they're evaluating between you and some of your peers.
okay, so when we talk about OEM customers, I mean they we generally work with them, I would say 2, 3 years in advance of a product launch. So they're so let's say a company like Callaway, right? So they're designing, or like TaylorMade, they're designing a product maybe way in advance. I would say maybe thinking about it 4 or 5 years in advance. Once they have something more tangible, we start working with them. I would say 2, 3 years before a product launch. So they have a specific performance factor in mind. So when we talk about how the club is going to perform in terms of how they're looking at designing the golf club, we get called in there to see if we could produce a shaft or provide a shaft that we're already producing that fits their performance profile, right? So when we talk about a performance profile, usually it has to do with how the ball flies when the club hits the ball, how the ball spins when when I know you're not a golfer, so there's a lot of specifications in there that we have to meet, and that's the number one thing. And obviously, they're looking at price, right? And they're looking at quality. But the first thing they're looking at is, do we have something, or do we have the capability to provide them with a shaft that fits certain specifications in terms of performance that they're looking for. Right.
Absolutely. So then, I mean, another just look really better understanding the competitive landscape and kind of the moat and the barrier to entry as well. I mean, what's stopping, maybe an upstart peer coming in being like, well, our shaft, like
Right.
FST shaft, well, like our shafts though, you got to try these out. Like what is that barrier to
Well, I
entry?
think it's interesting that's a great question because so steel golf shafts is very different from the graphite shaft industry. In steel golf shafts, I would say three companies in the world provide over 98% of steel golf shafts. So there's one in the U.S. Our primary competitor called True Temper. You know, their factories in Mississippi. They're located. I think they're headquartered in Memphis, Tennessee, or actually, yeah, I think somewhere in Tennessee. And another company is in Japan called Nippon Shaft. They're in Japan, and our factory is in Taiwan. Technically, our headquarters is in Boulder, Colorado, but our factory, everything we make is in Taiwan. Um, so so why a good question is, why are there only three of us? Because there is, from a capital standpoint, there is a big barrier to entry. So let me just give me like if you're looking at making 200,000 shafts a month from scratch, right? So just look at the equipment you're going to need, the people you're going to have to hire. You probably need to invest approximately 30 to 40 million dollars. That doesn't include, the land you need or the property. That's just getting it up and running to make 200,000 shafts a month. We're talking about, and steel shaft. I would say steel shaft demand uh uh annually is around 25 million annually. I mean, it's not a big market. It is what it is. But it's a stable market, and it is growing. But think about it. You need to spend 30 to 40 million dollars to get to 200,000 shafts. Now, after that, yes, it's going to cost you less, but then incrementally, you're still going to spend 5-6 million to double that, and then 5-6 million to double that, right? So, and once you get to 200,000 shafts, uh, we don't know if your shafts are quality, or if you have the capability to, like I was saying, when you're selling to the OEMs, can you provide the shafts that they want with the performance factors that they want, right? With the quality that they want, and at the price points that make you competitive, right? So when I was saying, look, we're one of the big differences between us and our competition is we could manufacture uh, steel and also provide graphite, but do it with quality in volume. I mean, that's a big difference, right? And 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 I'll be straightforward with it. Look, if I had to do this right now, I would take $30 million and I'll buy SpaceX. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna, I wouldn't do this from scratch. I think but because we're already here, we do have that moat that you're talking about, a giant barrier to entry. But also, because we're already there, we are in a position to produce good returns for shareholders and investors.
All right. So final, and I appreciate that. I mean, so my final question then for you here today, from what you could tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts moving forward? And kind of a part two question, what's the grand vision? I mean, is it to ultimately, have some sort of exit, or, then or try and compete with some of the name brands out there?
I see. Yeah. Okay. So I would talk about our vision in terms of the short term and the long term. So in the short term, our goal is pretty simple. We want to be the number one shaft company in the world, and I think we're getting close to that, right? So we're probably, I would say we're either the number one, if not the number two, but we're close to the number. You know, we're close to being the number one steel shaft company, if not already the number one steel shaft company in the world, right? In terms of volume and in terms of value. Um, and graphite shaft, we started doing graphite shaft, I would say around 2019, 2020. So, and because of COVID, it's been slower for us to push that out. But we're starting to kick that into gear. So graphite is a great growth opportunity for us. Um, and we see that in the next 2-3 years as something we're going to be focused on and growing. But we're also gonna continue to grow on steel, right? By basically increasing our market share. But steel is very different, right? If you look at graphite shaft, I mentioned that graphite shaft, we're looking at maybe 100, like I mean, really 30, 40 competitors, but there are many more manufacturers out there. Whereas steel, there's only three, right? So for us to grow in steel, it's kind of we need to take away market share from somebody else. But for us to grow in graphite, we just have to, I mean, we're taking probably market share from other manufacturers, but it's more about us growing the business ourselves. Um, and so in the short term, I would say in the next 2-3 years, we want to become the number one golf shaft company in the world, in terms of volume and value, right? Um, and over time, though, we do want to continue to grow our business, but I think once we get there, it's harder we're hitting a ceiling. It's harder to grow that business significantly. I still think it will, because you got emerging growth markets that are going to have more people become more affluent and pick up golf. So like Southeast Asia, South America, Africa, and India. Like we're seeing growth there, but that's in the long term. But we're also looking at, I would say, beyond the next 5-6 years, we are looking at how we're thinking about how we're going to expand um, our brand if we're not going to be growing aggressively in golf shafts. And we have a recognizable brand in the golf industry. It's KBS, and at the consumer level, right? So affluent golfers know KBS. Right now, I'd say a third of professional golfers probably use our, KBS products in their golf clubs. And people recognize that. But how do we expand that beyond just golf shafts? So that's our thought process, and we do think there's an opportunity for us to look at things beyond golf shafts. So we're not going to make golf clubs, but in terms of golf accessories and things into just general golf lifestyle. So we are looking at that, but it's very exploratory right now. But I would say 10 years from now, we're hoping to be more than just a golf shaft company, but more of a golf lifestyle company.
Very good. All right. Well, David, with that, where can our audience go and find more information about FST?
Okay, well, they could go to our corporate website, which is FST Corp.com, or they could go to if they want to know more, get more specific about our products, they could always go to our KBS website, which is kbsgolfshafts.com, and you could get a lot more information. Um, and other than that, yeah, definitely reach out to like I was saying, I'm sorry, I wasn't I don't know what whose contacts you guys have at Planet Microcap, but please reach out to our IR people. They they'd be
There
able
you
to
go. That's good.
provide more information as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll work. Cool. All right. Well,
Mhm.
David, thank you very much for joining me today. Really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And look forward to the next update.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.